The whole thing
No, talking about analogies.
Okay, we're live streaming.
Are we live right
We
now?
are live right now. Right at this moment.
How many people are tuned in?
No one, because we just went live. Actually, one person's watching!
Woo! I
Alright,
didn't
we
tell
walk out.
anyone.
There we go.
So, am I covering you up?
Hello and welcome to the Fire Talk, Season 1, Episode 2 of our live stream. Episode, I don't know, whatever, of our actual radio show.
I think it might be 3.
Might be 3?
Might be
Alright.
3.
Cool. I'm Kyle.
I'm Sean.
And
I'm Tori.
Yay! And this is McBuckets.
Oh.
Hi,
There
McBuckets.
he is.
there.
So right now we're doing something called, it's a technical term actually, it's called wasting time.
Yes.
Because we're basically just wasting time until a radio show that's playing pre-recorded gets over, and then we start.
It has 2 minutes left.
2 minutes left.
Here we go.
We gotta entertain the troops for 2 minutes.
Actually, it's more like 3 minutes.
I think this looks really stupid. Taking it off.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything.
I gotta do
music.
I gotta do opening game.
Dang it.
Good opening game.
Okay.
If Kyle Hawley was an
Oh, man.
animal,
Wait, is that music?
which one would he be and why? Let's begin with Tori.
Oh, I feel like a meerkat.
Yeah, that's good.
I would be a meerkat.
A meerkat.
Why is there
Because you're very,
Why is there music?
like, sometimes you're not there and you don't see you for weeks. But then you, like, pop up
He
and you're just
pop
like,
up.
Where did the music come from?
Hi guys, what's
Hello.
up?
He would definitely be some form of vegetarian.
Mm.
I'm thinking
A
that
herbivore.
the plant-eating dinosaur, the really tall one with the long, just because that's the first
A
one.
brontosaurus.
Yes.
Wow, that's great.
Shout out to the brontosaurus.
Any
Dinosaur.
brontosauruses listening? This is for you.
Mhm.
I am you. I am one of you.
He's a friendly dinosaur.
Barney?
Gosh.
Not Barney. It's common mix-up. though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Kyle. Mhm.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
Ross.
Sean.
I'll say Kyle's like, he's like a slightly less docile koala.
He's crocodile.
Less docile?
Yeah, like koalas like on the docile scale, like they're here. Kyle the koala's like here.
They're actually.
I've heard koalas are pretty violent.
Are
They
they?
Am I
have
violent?
claws.
But they seem
Of course.
docile, but it's all a show.
Well, here's the thing. I've never seen Kyle snap, but I mean,
Ooh,
I wouldn't want him to.
Yeah, there we
that's
go.
a
There we
solid
go.
young man.
Yeah.
So
You
if
never really
you missed
see
out,
me
man.
directing.
You missed out.
Oh, I missed
You're
out.
always on stage when I'm directing.
It's a bad place
guy.
to be.
You're always on stage when he snaps. Oh, wait.
Usually my fault. Anyway,
Oh, always.
McNair?
I'm just kidding.
if Kyle Hawley was an animal, which one would he be?
Crocodile.
What is that?
Kyle.
It's a crocodile named Kyle.
Nice.
Crocodile. Oh, I see what you did there.
It's also a dinosaur.
Did you just do that because it had his name in it, kind
Well,
of?
actually, Mary Leslie made that one.
Instead of saying pop pop, you'd say crop crop. Or chop chop, what was it?
Chop chop.
I don't know what I think I'd be. I don't know. I don't know why I'm looking at you guys for answers. Like, this is something I should have in my
Yeah,
head.
we
I
can
don't know.
Gave you the
I know.
answers.
I had all good suggestions. I appreciate the input.
Here's
I'll
a-
take it back home, and
Yeah.
mull over it a little bit.
Mm.
What would you guys be? Like if you had to
12
be an
seconds.
animal, what would you
10
guys
seconds.
be? Oh, you
8
know what
seconds.
we should be? We should be live.
7 seconds.
We'll find out that answer.
5,
Sometime
Right,
other
it is.
time.
2.
You're listening to WSCU 93.7 FM, Lakeland, Florida, and you're live in the station with Fire Talk. I'm Tori,
I'm Anna.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Kyle.
and we are talking about, in honor of National Coffee Day today, caffeine addictions.
Wow.
And I'm not here.
And Mick Buckets is live on FM radio. This ain't no college radio. This is FM. Oh my gosh. Hey, make sure you check out YouTube. Go ahead and go to YouTube and search in the little search bar right there. Search Fire Talk Season 1. And you're going to go ahead and find our live stream so you can watch us while we talk to you. But you can't talk back unless you comment. However, yeah, we're going to talk about caffeine addiction today. I'll let you guys take that away. I just have a little plug for our live stream.
Sean, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. With caffeine addiction.
Bauer.
I think caffeine addiction is kind of one of those things that we brush under the rug. Like, I know I'm serious about this. I know in the Mormon faith, caffeine is a no-no. You can't do that. And at first when I heard that, I was like, what an incredibly strange rule. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But really, when you think about it, caffeine is very much a drug. And while it's an incredibly useful drug, and we find a lot of different ways to make our lives easier with it, you could argue that, there comes a point where caffeine and having too much of it is not honoring to God or your body.
Wow, we start off really deep. Before we get too deep, let's go ahead and just talk about it real quick. I mean, it is National Coffee Day.
Woot woot!
Woot woot. So the show that we just had on before, Tori, you were actually on that show. Sean, you were also on that show as a guest, right?
I was.
And you guys were talking all about coffee.
Yes. Coffee creamers, actually.
Coffee creamers.
World's worst coffee creamers. It was fantastic.
There's a lot of them.
I am a huge fan of coffee, but I wasn't, into it until I, got to school. And I got a coffee maker in my room, and then it was kind of, downhill from there. But I think it's good. I mean, if you're addicted, and and you can't go, more than, 4 hours without it in the morning without a splitting migraine, then you just make sure you have coffee always accessible.
Always got to make sure you have coffee. Oh, I got a headache? It's probably I haven't had
I just
enough
need more
caffeine today,
It's fine.
There we go.
I think one of the interesting things about coffee is no one likes coffee the first time they drink it, but for some reason we keep drinking it.
Hence the addiction.
Yes, and it brainwashes us to think it tastes good.
Mm.
It really does. It really does. Wait,
Conspiracy theory.
give a baby a sip of coffee and see what happens. They will spit
Don't
it
do
out
that.
of their
That's
mouth.
really
Don't,
bad.
don't
for
give any
children.
babies coffee.
Just a sip. Just a sip.
Well, what's interesting with this, with caffeine addiction, is that it's one of the few addictions in life that's acceptable to have. Because if you're talking about alcohol, no one's like, oh yeah, I gotta always have my alcohol. If I feel down, I'm gonna have some alcohol. No one's like, oh, that's funny, me too. They're always like, wow, we should probably get you some help, buddy. McNair, you gotta say something? Come on in here, buddy.
Actually, in Europe, alcohol consumption is a much more common thing. They drink alcohol like they drink coffee. Just at the end of the day rather at the beginning.
That's a good point.
It's they start off their day with coffee or tea, usually tea. They have a tea break in the middle of the day, as well, and then they finish it off with some alcohol. So it's this spectrum of it started off with a high, and then sort of maintain that with tea, and then down to wind yourself down at night. You consume some wine or beer
Interesting.
or whiskey or anything else.
Europe,
And what's also
man.
interesting with Europe, though, however, is that they're a lot more. They're able to, control it better. Because you're still gonna have alcoholics over in Europe, and it's still not looked at as, oh, they're just an alcoholic. It's okay. But over there, it's just more acceptable for people to have alcohol. Whereas in America, it's kind of viewed more as a party thing. There's not as many people that.
Social. It's not social. It's not as social as it has. Not as social over here as it has been in Europe.
Yeah. So it's interesting though that caffeine though it's still almost worldwide is just, oh yeah, I gotta have my coffee every single morning or every single day at 2 p.m. or something.
Well, I think it's safe to say that caffeine doesn't have as many adverse effects as other addictions, so that might be part of the reason why it's more
I will say though,
accepted.
this is one of those topics that touches close to home for me though, because
Mhm.
I was actually in middle school addicted to caffeine. I would have roughly 7 Rockstar energy drinks a day.
Wow.
And ended up having a lot of health problems. It was one of those things that gradually built up to that, but had a lot of health problems. Sean, you know how shaky you are?
I'm incredibly shaky.
Yeah, I was shakier than that for a few years. Eighth grade, almost the entire year, I was actually out of school. One weekend in, I think November it was, I actually couldn't walk. Just couldn't walk for a week and had to go to the hospital. And it was one of those things that the doctors were like, we don't know what's happening, what the heck?
Mhm.
And they eventually went through my medical history, and I talked to all of them, talked to them and stuff, and they were like, we genuinely think this is related to the caffeine consumption, because I had to cut it off, before that, because I was having so many other adverse health effects. So obviously that was an extreme case of, wow, you should never consume that much caffeine, and also all the other junk that comes in something like an energy drink.
And now you're caffeine free.
And what McNair said that you guys didn't hear is actually now I'm completely caffeine free. But thank you, Sean. However, so it's interesting. There doesn't really seem like there's usually a lot of health effects, but there really are a lot of hidden health effects with caffeine addiction.
Yeah, definitely, especially if you're drinking 7.
Typically, 7. You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So from there we go.
So, yeah, I think that maybe moderation is like, I think moderation is good. Because I know even myself, like if I start to get really busy or something, I will just start. Instead of like, oh, I'm just gonna like take it easy. I'll just be like, oh, I'm just gonna get more coffee. It'll be fine. But what ends up happening is you reach that point where you're not really getting like productive energy from the coffee. You're just getting more, like you're not sleeping, like you're definitely far from sleeping, but like you're just getting more and more like anxiety and like jittery and like really jumpy. So
I found myself to be like a recreational coffee drinker, for lack of a better term. And I know people that need it to wake up and stuff. I really don't. Like if I can get enough sleep, wake up, have a good breakfast, drink a bunch of water. For me, that gets me going. I just like cold water. Seriously.
I love water, right?
Yeah. You especially love water, Kyle. But like, it's Christmas time. We're all sitting around. Oh, it's cold. Let's have a cup of coffee. Or hey, let's meet for coffee. Oh, we're at a meeting and we have coffee. That's fine. I don't think I've like developed an addiction. However, this semester I've come to start drinking it less recreationally and more like, shoot, like I need coffee to get through this class. Instead of just like going mind over matter and being like, I am stronger than the fatigue, which is kind of what got me through high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. What would you guys distinguish as an addiction versus what a just recreational drinking?
This is where you
Coffee.
can't function without it. If you're incapacitated by the lack of whatever the substance may be, then I would say you would be addicted to that substance. Then I have a learning disability and I am prescribed a medication for that. I wouldn't say I'm addicted to my medication. It just helps me to function in the environment that I'm in. And addiction is beyond that, where abuse of that substance would create something that like your body physically wouldn't function, rather than like mentally in a certain situation.
Yes.
yes.
That's hard to follow that up. I mean, I think you about nailed it. I can't really disagree with that definition. I guess a good question then is, why is our addiction to this so widely accepted to the point where it's almost celebrated? Like it's some funny, thing. Like, oh, we can all relate to that. Haven't had my coffee, Oh, it was a 3-cup morning. Like, that's insane. That's like 24 ounces of coffee in your body. Like, that's awful for you. Why do we think it's okay in the society, I guess, is the question.
I think it's just something that happens as society, like I don't know if we could like pinpoint, but if you look at any sort of culture like throughout history, there's always been those certain things that are just socially acceptable that you're kind of like, that doesn't make sense. But, like I feel like somewhere along the way, we just were like, hey, coffee helps me wake up early in the morning, so it's good. And then I don't know how it got popular though.
And I think another thing, like, coffee just has a lot of times it has a good connotation to it, Like I know growing up, my mom worked in a coffee shop, and so when I think of drinking coffee, it kind of reminds me of home, or if it's cold outside, if it's snowing, which it never does in Florida, but if you ever go anywhere else with snow, it's like you go inside and a nice hot cup of coffee, it's just a warm feeling.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I think maybe one of the reasons in America that coffee's maybe taken more prevalence over this past couple centuries is that coffee's grown in South America. It's not as much of an import to the rest of the world as it is to America. We drink a lot of it, and we also ship a lot of it. And I think there's like this culture, like in large cities, that brings coffee business and like entrepreneurship in way of coffee that spreads all over the world. We send coffee, we make coffee, we design new coffee beans, and try to make it the best, even though it tastes disgusting.
You know what's interesting though about all the caffeine and stuff, and caffeine being viewed as a drug and everything, is that even for people that are drug free and everything, they still use it. Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, former WWE wrestler, now apparently UFC fighter, even though he has no match set or anything. Anyways, he is straight edge, which is a punk rock subculture that advocates a drug-free and alcohol-free lifestyle, yet he still drinks caffeine regularly. So it's interesting how even in a world where it's like, no, we're completely drug-free, not using drugs at all, and it's like, oh, but caffeine, that's all right.
Yeah, I think it goes back to... Oh, sorry, Tori.
Oh, no, you're good.
I think it goes back to there are just some things that we're cool with in this culture that, maybe other people are not. And that's not a good answer, but I think a lot of the time it's okay. Like, if you want to have 1 cup of coffee every day, I don't know if I could call you addicted. Now, if you have to have more and more and more, like every day, and the problem builds and you get splitting headaches and all these things like withdrawals, like that's an addiction. So I really think it's accepted based upon, how frequently you're using it.
Mm-hmm. Goes back to the abuse factor. If you're drinking it in order to maintain a high, or at least some level of alertness, then and you, without it you can't really be as alert, then perhaps you should find some way to wean yourself off of it, to an extent where you're not abusing it anymore. It doesn't say quit cold turkey. It just means if you're going to abuse something, maybe you should look at it from a new perspective and say, okay, how do I still drink this because I like it, but not hurt myself in the process?
What's interesting about that is that with somebody like an alcoholic though, you would never really tell them well, let's go ahead and wean you off of it, but you still like it, so you can still drink it, So again, it just comes back to coffee, caffeine, Monster Energy drinks, Rockstar drinks, whatever, have this weird hold on. I don't know if it's just American culture. I don't know what the rest of the world is like with caffeine, so I'm not going to speak to that. But again, it's interesting how here caffeine, the drug caffeine, is viewed. So, oh no, we'll wean you off of it a little bit, but you can still have it.
I think maybe, and I'm not sure, but maybe it's because we, alcohol, there is kind of an adverse reaction. If someone has too much alcohol, they're not behaving normally or nicely. Or if someone has too many drugs, starts taking drugs, usually, it's not a functioning person that they become. And I think maybe the reason we have socialized the idea of oh, coffee, it's good, is because when people have coffee, they just think a little clearer and they're a little bit nicer to talk to in the morning. And, the worst thing that happened, well, I mean, obviously there are things that happen, if you abuse it with anything, but right out of the gate, the reactions that people have to caffeine aren't normally, causing them to do things that are harmful to other people or harmful to themselves.
Yeah, I would say, with caffeine addiction, most of the harm is to the person's own health.
Yeah.
And then, I think, in my opinion, it would be better relatable to, cigarette smoking or something like that, where smoking a cigarette doesn't make you necessarily hurt other people, but it's very bad for your health.
Secondhand caffeine consumption.
That really annoying person who sits next to you at work who just drinks 5 Red Bulls.
Always has coffee breath.
Yeah.
That's secondhand caffeine.
That
is. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, you can keep going. Sorry.
No. That was all I had on that subject. On that aspect.
When did you guys first try coffee? And was it yes, I'm super into this. This is great.
All right. Like I said before, no one tries coffee the first time. Okay, but maybe you guys did. I just feel like everyone who says that is lying. But Yeah, my mom worked in a coffee shop when I was a kid, and so she would always let me try coffee, and I hated it because it tasted like bitter chemicals. And I grew to love
That's
that
what it
bitter
is.
chemical taste in college when I needed to be awake for stuff.
There we have it. That's how America got addicted to coffee. Stress from college. They never got like they never stopped after college. They just kept going. But I first drank like a sip of coffee when I was really thirsty one time in a car, and that was the only thing that was liquid in the entire car.
It's a bad idea. Caffeine dehydrates.
Well, besides the point is, I hated it. I wanted to die. It was so bad.
See?
And to this day, I can't even stand coffee. But before that, I didn't like the smell. I can't walk into a Starbucks without like gagging. It just I can't stand coffee. I'm probably the only one who hasn't had a full cup of coffee in this room.
I'm personally, I'm a coffee fan now, like I said, but I can remember drinking it as a kid and being like, oh, this is awful. And being from New England, it seems like this always comes up, but it's a cultural difference, I guess. Coffee is a huge thing for us.
Uh-huh.
It's huge. Like, you usually start your addiction when you're 14 or 15, and then you carry it with you until you die. Like, that's becoming a man in New England. Like, we have Dunkin' Donuts on every corner. Every corner. Like, more people could tell you about the Dunkin' Donuts menu than they could the Constitution of the state of New England. And, like, that's not unusual. Like, that's just the way that it is. And I can, you know, the first time I really had it probably was, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, can I have a sip of that? But I remember vividly, and I think the reason I went on this long hiatus when I was like, no, this is gross, I'm not having it, was I went and did a foolish thing that many kids in cold climates do. I went and I got my tongue stuck to a pole. and in the hopes of removing my tongue, I panicked and I was out. It was right in the front steps, thankfully, so I got my tongue in the pole and going, ugh! And my dad hears me, and my sister went and ran for help, and my poor father, because you don't, like, obviously you don't train, you're not trained for this. It's like, my kid's an idiot, I don't know how to train. And so he had a cup of coffee in his hand at the time and just dumped some of the coffee on my tongue. And it didn't burn me, it wasn't too hot, it probably didn't even taste that bad, but like, I think subconsciously, I just associated the taste of that with ripping taste bugs off my tongue to the railing coming down the front door. And after that, for years. So that was really the first encounter that I can remember
Wow.
off the top of my head.
I don't know. What about you, Kyle?
For me, the first time I ever tried specifically coffee was, I believe I was in 2nd grade, and I was at a hotel, and I got like a cup of like complimentary coffee, and obviously loaded up with sugar and like creamer and stuff, and I can't remember how much I drank. All I remember is that night, like my mom telling me, you're never allowed to have another cup of coffee. 'Cause I guess I was off the wall.
We knew.
We know.
If you're just joining us though today, we're talking about caffeine addiction because it's National Coffee Day. Make sure you check out our YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search Fire Talk Season 1 to watch our live stream, watch our beautiful faces. You're listening to 93.7 FM. Tori, when was the first time you ever tried coffee?
The first time I had coffee, I actually remember it, like, exactly. It was like Christmas time. We were all at my grandparents' house, like a bunch of family was there. And they had this, like, coffee that my family, like, the same type and, like, flavor of coffee they would have every year at Christmas called Santa's White Christmas Coffee. And
Baird's and Christmas. They go all out.
I didn't have a chance. I love it. And it smelled amazing every year. And I don't know how old I was. I was, like, maybe, like, 9 or 10. And I was like, I really want to try that. And so they were like, sure, you want some coffee? No problem. And they made me, like, my own cup with, like, and it had, like, Christmas flavor. You know, like, the Christmas things where it's, like, got, like, the cinnamon and things like that. So it had that in the coffee, and then I put, like, creamer and sugar. I liked it from the get-go.
That explains a lot about the Tori we know.
There we have flavored coffee.
Yeah, Tori liked the creamer. Can I clarify? Alright.
It's funny, my grandpa is one of those people that's like, if you don't drink your coffee black, you don't actually like coffee.
But what I hear a lot from people who like give their children coffee, they put a lot of milk in it, just to like get them used to the taste of coffee. My brother is like
Get used to
coffee.
it.
But
Gradually
Breaking them into the addiction.
yeah, if my brother drank a full cup of coffee, I would want to kill him. So I thank my mother now that she has given him coffee with a bunch of milk, and he does like the taste, but you can still have the taste without the side effects of the caffeine.
I don't want to go too far off topic here, but I feel like this needs to be addressed. This whole trend of, Mom, Dad, can I have some coffee? It's very rare the parents are like, well, no, that's irresponsible because this could lead to an addiction. No, the parents are like, I'll make you a cup right now.
Just to watch their kid's reaction of how gross it is.
Seriously, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that? That's horrible. Like, let me make you a big old cup of something you're gonna hate. It's gonna build some character.
Yeah.
That seems a little dark to me.
But sometimes
Get it?
they
Dark?
don't hate.
Oh.
Coffee puns.
Yeah, sometimes they don't hate it. Sometimes it's really good.
Mm.
Tori's over here like, the memories.
Sometimes it's flavored so that you can't really tell what the coffee tastes like apart from the peppermint.
Well, it was good.
You know what's really funny? This is kind of a different subject, but my church back home, I think a lot of churches, especially like the modern churches today, they have like coffee places inside the church, like a little coffee shop. And ours was called Connection Coffee, and they're
Shout out to City
legitimately
Light Cafe.
there legitimately was a ministry surrounding the coffee bar. Like they would pray over it and like talk about how they were going to use it to minister to the newcomers coming to buy coffee. Like, that's how far caffeine is coming.
Yeah.
And it's funny because here on Southeastern University's campus, we have Portico Coffee House.
Yep,
and
we do.
you know, their big thing is, you know, all of our proceeds are, you know, go to missions, you know. So it's just so funny, you know, going back to that whole thing of caffeine's a drug or caffeine, what about alcohol, you know, in the core, you know, parallels or whatever. It's like, no, it's good. Like, just come on. I mean, we got 26 different kinds of roast. We got dark roast. Sean? No, I tried.
Dark.
Yeah,
I see what you did, Kyle.
The stronger the addiction, the more money you're donating to missions, Kyle. Don't forget that.
However many, like, shots of espresso you get in it. Like,
Yeah.
that's how
Rack it
Christian
up.
you are, actually.
Mhm.
Right there.
I cannot tell you how many times I've used that as an excuse to talk myself into an extra cup.
Yes.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, class is over in an hour, you do not need a cup of coffee. And I go, it's all for missions though, Sean. Like that, the little angel on my shoulder betrays me. And he's like, no, it's all for missions. And then the devil on the other side's like, yeah, sure, it's for missions. And then I
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of missions with coffee, I actually went to Ethiopia last year where coffee was invented.
hey,
Yeah, and they drink coffee, I don't know if they drink coffee more than Americans, but everywhere we went, the first thing we did was get a cup of coffee.
Everybody there is just strung out on caffeine.
Yes.
It's crazy.
I don't know, they're really chill though, so it was kind of weird, but yeah, they drink coffee a lot.
They've mastered the art.
They've
of
mastered.
coffee. There you go.
I feel like really it can be a cultural thing, like where the beans are from. I know a lot is
Mhm.
made out of Colombian coffee, and I didn't buy the hype, but I remember this vividly. It was my freshman year. I came to Southeastern. Everything was going fine. We're going to a comm meeting. Comm meeting starts at like 10 p.m., and that was the day I learned a lot about the comm department. I go into Portico. I was like, boy, 10 p.m. I'm gonna pick up a coffee. I don't know anything about coffee, so I say, can I just have your Colombian drip, which is like the most basic, cheap coffee there is. So I get that, and I was like, it was like I was taking this alternate plane of awareness. I was taken up into the new heaven, and like that whole meeting, I just remember being so enthusiastic about the comm department. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, like, this is great. And it wasn't like stereotypical bouncing off the walls, but my mind was just like, I'm gonna do everything.
Yes.
This is cool. This professor's awesome. I want to get involved with it. I'm going to do all these things. Oh, this is the best.
Unplanned bro.
Exactly. So now I find, like, when I need to have a good attitude, and I'm not having a good attitude, sometimes the Colombian stuff in particular will get me there.
So that one time you worked camera for me, was that because you had coffee? Ooh, that was the one time Silence on the Radio
Wow.
said so much.
Wow, I do the same thing when I drink coffee too. Like every time I drink a cup, I write like 5 encouraging letters to people, and like coffee is an attitude adjuster. It really is.
You just can't, drink coffee and then be upset at somebody. Is
No,
that it? Now,
no.
what about like when you're kind of weaning off, towards the
Oh
tail
man,
end?
that is bad. That is when
not
I
good.
go into my room, lock the door, and cry about absolutely nothing for 2 hours, and then I'm okay.
And then you get more coffee.
And then I get more
Then
coffee.
you're good.
Do it all over again.
The addiction. The addiction.
And we're laughing about it. Like, you're right.
I know,
You're
even
right.
I'm laughing
No,
about
it's
it
funny.
too.
Yeah.
It's so messed. All right, let's get back like legit, like caffeine addiction, guys.
Mm.
Like, yeah, what? Actually, okay, hold on. Thought
It's a vicious
rabbit trail. There we go. McNair just said it's a vicious blend.
Coffee
93.7 FM.
puns.
Oh.
But what about this? So we were saying how it's really acceptable and stuff. I can't remember the exact comment, but I know you said earlier something that I kind of had this thought earlier, but then I forgot it. Now I'm going to say it now. You ready for this? Something like, and we're going to get real here on Fire Talk. Something like marijuana. That's been a big thing nowadays.
Mhm.
Having medicinal marijuana become legalized. Something like that. If that becomes legalized and that becomes commonplace. Is that something where it's like, as Christians, it's like, hey, it's totally legal. I'm not going to get in trouble from the law or anything. I'm not breaking any laws. And also, it's commonplace. There's people that are, it's like Tylenol. People are just doing that to relieve pain. Is that something from a Christian standpoint specifically where it's like, yeah, all right, that's all right now?
My understanding, and this is kind of where I'm at with the marijuana debate, is a lot of Christians, they have two issues with it. It's first, it's illegal. Well, you take care of that, you're only left with one thing, is you get high, of course. And so people will say, well, smoking weed doesn't make you violent. It honestly probably just makes you a better person to be around. Like, you're just happier, just more easygoing.
You're right. Mhm.
So I'm told, Mom, if you're listening, don't worry about it. Seriously, don't worry about it. Anyway, however, I've heard the argument made, well, that puts you in a state where you would say or do things you wouldn't normally do, which could not be honoring either to your body or honoring to Christ. And we said, oh, well, that's a perfectly reasonable thing. That's why we shouldn't get drunk either. And we kind of closed the case. But Kyle, that's a really good point, because coffee's the same way. Like, you have a cup of coffee, or maybe you have too many, and you're in a position suddenly where you were doing or saying things you wouldn't normally do because your mind, your attitude is altered by this substance. So I guess, is there a difference? Because now that I'm saying this out loud, that's a very good point, Kyle. I'm having a harder time. And I understand it's a stronger difference, but if it's the principle of the thing, is there that big of a discrepancy between the two?
And there's has been times when people have gotten 6 espresso shots, or they're like, okay, now if you get all this, that's gonna be super strong. It's almost like crack, So obviously it's not like crack that we know of, but it's something that people are using that comparison of another much more legal drug that's not on the table to get legalized, but using that comparison for caffeine.
I didn't hear what you were saying, really, but I'm just gonna give some of my own personal experience with other drugs.
Why are
I think
you
we're
here?
just going off on a different side.
Sure.
Like, we brought up marijuana. That's another drug. Just like the drug that I take for my ADD is it helps me to focus, but I've sometimes questioned whether it is worth taking, just for health reasons. Sometimes I feel like it affects my emotions and my appetite. But some drugs have worse side effects than others. I hear that marijuana has been proven to have really bad side effects down the line, just like cigarettes and alcohol, like abusive alcohol. But I have sometimes worried that what I'm putting in my body could be harming me down the road. I'm just conscious of that. I take the drugs knowing that this could potentially, since it's only been invented in my lifetime, but no one actually knows what's going to happen to me when I'm 80.
Mhm.
So I'm gambling with my life here, but it's for the sake of my education.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else with coffee. So like I've been on several different dosage levels, and actual different medications, and they've stunted my growth at some points. They've done like weird things with like making me look like a zombie, not look like, act like, just like blank face, no emotion, and it's sort of confused me at those times. But now I'm on one that it's working for me. I think going through puberty was a chemical imbalance with what I was on at the time, so changing it helped a little bit. But the whole thing of like taking it so that I can accomplish certain goals in life, I would be a totally different person if I wasn't on it right now. It's just very personal. Like I'd rather take it and be a easier person to get along with and interact with. I'd be really impulsive and energetic right now if I wasn't on it.
So earlier, you're talking about your medicine and stuff. So if somebody was saying like, hey, like marijuana, like this is like, if your doctor's like, I strongly recommend this to use marijuana. Is that something that you would consider? Not necessarily you saying out loud to to the radio.
Like, say any drug, but yeah. Say it were any drug, but like, I would look at the side effects. I would look at the benefits, and I would ask my mom. I would say, "Hey, Mom, did someone suggesting that I do this? Have you looked into it?" Since like she was obviously the one when I was in pediatrics who was making those decisions for me. I wasn't like, "Hey, doctor, can I have this?" So yeah, like I've used caffeine as well, but that's more of it has a calming effect on me rather than an energizing. It's reverse. It's rather weird to think about, but some people drink coffee to like wake up. I drink coffee to calm down. No, I don't drink coffee. I drink caffeine. I used the wrong word. Too much C words. The caffeine. Caffeine has a reverse effect on me. I lost my train of thought.
No,
That's okay.
I think it's a good question that you're raising though, Kyle, about medical marijuana, and you're talking about prescription drugs, but and then versus caffeine, and whether or not we as Americans or as Christians have a double standard in our views about it. I think I don't know if I even have an answer to that.